Hey everyone, let's take a look at Chapter 13 review. Most of the questions, all of them are multiple choice. I'm just going to look at some of the critical questions. Question number 5, we have the potential gross domestic product at QF, and they're asking when will we use a contractionary fiscal policy. So the government is going to use a contractionary fiscal policy whenever the real gross domestic product is greater than QF, and this happens for this one, aggregate demand AD3. Okay, now they're asking us question number 6. QF is the full employment output. An expansionary fiscal policy is most appropriate when the government will use an expansionary fiscal policy when the real gross domestic product is less than full employment output QF. So here the AD0 is less than QF, AD1 is less than QF, AD0 is most appropriate because it's way less than QF. Okay. Alrighty, let's take a look at question number 8 here. It says, refer to the figure, the economy is operating at the intersection of aggregate supply and aggregate demand 2. That means we are here, and there is a contractionary fiscal policy and accompanying multiplier effects that moves aggregate demand from AD2 to AD1. That makes sense. What effect it has on real gross domestic product and price level. So contractionary fiscal policy, whenever we have that, this means the aggregate demand will shift to the left. As a result, my real gross domestic product will go down, but the price is gonna stay the same. That means we will be at this point and definitely not at point Y. So we have the real GDP going down to X and price remains unchanged, and this is called a ratchet effect. Okay. Alrighty, so these are quite straightforward here. The equilibrium level of real gross domestic product. So this is gonna be Y4 because this is where the 45-degree line touches this line, which is consumption, investment, net exports, and government spending. The next one, full employment occurs at Y3. What would the government do? So my full employment is Y3, but the real gross domestic product is Y4. So the government should increase taxes and reduce government spending. Take a look at question number 11 here. It says the tax revenue and is T and government expenses is G. What happens when GDP is 400 billion? So basically what happens at this point here? At this point, G is equal to T. So whenever government expenses is equal to taxes, the budget is balanced. So we'd have this as our answer choice. Alright, I'm just gonna go over some of the other questions really quickly. So take a look at question 24 here. Is asking the public debt declined in which year? We have the government spending and the tax revenues here. So the public debt is going to go down whenever we have a budget surplus. That means whenever the taxes are greater than government spending, and this happens in year 6. Now take a look at question number 28. They're asking what's the public debt in the economy at year 5. I believe we have a question like this in one of the Excel sheets I gave you. So please follow the Excel sheet and try solving this problem, because I just want you to do this question number 28 by yourself. The method is totally explained in the Excel sheet. Okay. So take a look at this last few questions here. Question 36, we have the marginal propensity to consume is equal to 0.75. They're asking the government could shift aggregate demand to the left by how much? So aggregate demand shifting to the left means the government is following some kind of a contractionary fiscal policy. It can do it by either increasing taxes or lowering government expenses. So if MPC is equal to 0.75, I'm just going to use the formula for the multiplier here, which is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. That means it's going to be 1 over 1 minus 0.75. This is 0.25, so this is equal to 4. And this is kind of the government expenditure multiplier. So let me see if anything matches up here. So if aggregate demand is going to be shifting by 60 billion here, I need the, let me try to do it like this. This is gonna, let me try to do it in a MS Word file and show it to you. Okay, so we are in this question and I'm trying to show this to you using this MS Word file, and that's gonna make this easier for us. So this is the question here where we have to shift the aggregate demand leftward by 60 billion. So that means the total shift is going to be equal to this 60 billion. So the formula is going to be the initial change times the multiplier, and this whole thing is equal to 60. And we have a government expenditure multiplier and the tax multiplier. Now if I use the government expenditure multiplier here, the formula is 1 over 1 minus MPC, and I need the initial change here. I'm just going to write down this as initial change again times this multiplier equal to 60. This happens if the government is going to be reducing government expenses. Now what happens if the government is trying to increase taxes? There is another way to lower the aggregate demand. This is initial change times MPC over 1 minus MPC. This is the tax multiplier, and this whole thing is equal to 60. Now this one is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. That means 1 over 1 minus 0.75. This is going to be equal to 4. Now this is equal to the tax multiplier is MPC over 1 minus MPC. That means it's gonna be 0.25. Let me do the calculation really quickly. So this is gonna be equal to 3 because MPC is equal to 0.275 and 1 minus MPC is equal to 0.25. Now what's gonna be my answer here? My answer is gonna be increasing taxes by $20 billion. Why is this the answer here? Is because, let me show this to you here. This is one of the options here. If taxes increases by $20 billion, we multiply this times the multiplier and we are going to get the final change in government expenses, which is equal to 60. So this is the only answer that matches up. So that's the answer to our problem. Okay.